This one is dedicated to each and every one of you who appreciate a great glass of wine. You know what I mean?
It's Monday. Let's raise a glass to the beginning of another week. It's time to unscrew, uncork, or saber a bottle. And let's begin exploring the wine glass. Happy Memorial Day. Originally known as Decoration Day, is a federal holiday here in the United States dedicated to honoring and mourning the U.S. military personnel who've died while serving in the United States Armed Forces. If you are in Paso Robles today, please come by Dracaena Wines' tasting room. Active and veteran military will receive 2 complimentary tastings with a single bottle purchase, plus 20% off all wine purchases. If you aren't in town now, Dracaena Wines always remembers and honors by providing 10% off. Today's episode is a re-release of my interview with an amazing nonprofit called Honor Flight Central Coast, who raise money so that they can honor all American veterans by taking them to Washington, D.C. on their tour of honor. It's a wonderful cause. Please check them out. Their link is in the show notes. While you are listening, it would be so incredible if you could take 1 minute to subscribe, rate, and review. It takes only a few seconds of your time, but means so much to the show. Slancha.
Give me the wine, every time. This one is dedicated to each and every one of you who appreciate a great glass of wine. You know what I mean?
It's Monday. Let's raise a glass to the beginning of another week. It's time to unscrew, uncork, or saber a bottle. And let's begin exploring the wine glass. Today's podcast is a bit of a diversion from the typical, but it is a topic that is extremely important to me: supporting our veterans. This Memorial Day, many Paso Robles wineries will be participating in Vino for Vets. Each winery will be doing something different, but they all will be helping to raise funds for Honor Flight Central Coast, California. The mission of this charity is to honor all of America's veterans by taking them to Washington, D.C. on their tour of honor for no cost to them. This Memorial Day weekend, stop by Dracaena Wines along with about 30 other wineries to drink for a cause. And the next time you see a veteran, be sure to thank them for their service and welcome them home. Please take a moment to rate and review the podcast. Did you know that you can do it right now while you're listening? New ratings and reviews are how the algorithms decide which podcasts they recommend to others. And if you love the podcast, other wine lovers will too. Don't forget to add your email address on the website to keep up with all things exploring the wine glass. Slancha.
Give me the red wine. Give me the blanc.
Hey everybody, I'm Lori Budd, a UC Davis winemaking program, Spanish wine scholar, sommelier service, champagne and Côte d'Aron specialist, and a WSET Level 2 graduate. You can find Exploring the Wine Glass on all the socials, as well as your favorite podcast catchers. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to swipe, subscribe, rate, and review. Stay in the know about all things wine by visiting my website, exploringthewineglass.com. I promise I'll never tell you what to drink, but I'll always share what's in my glass.
In the Bible, water go turn right into.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Allure of the Poor, sponsored by Dracaena Wines. Today we have a special podcast for you, video for you, because we are kind of doing an extension of wine, and something that is near and dear to me is supporting veterans, because these people have dedicated their lives to protecting us and serving the country. And nothing really gets me angrier than when people don't respect them. So I had the opportunity to participate in an event that's coming up this week called Vino for Vets. And today I have Bear McGill with me, who is the strong person behind this event. And we're going to talk about Vino for Vets and Honor Flight and what you can do to help veterans. So welcome, Bear.
Well, thank you for having me. And to all the people out there that served our country, I just want to tell you, thank you for serving our country. I just greatly appreciate the freedom that you fought for and served for so we could enjoy what we have today. So thank you very much, and I appreciate you having me on today.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's start off with a little bit about yourself. You know, tell us your life history in I don't know, 2 minutes.
Okay. Well, I was raised here in Tilton. I've been in Tilton 57 years. I retired from the sheriff's department, and my son is the one that got me into honor flight. He went as a guardian for Bakersfield in 2012 for a World War II veteran. And then he went to their board and said, hey, I'd like to go to the Central Coast and start rounding up veterans. And so they allowed him. But I'll let everybody know how the honor flight actually got started. And so, the World War II memorial wasn't completed until 2005. And there was a physician assistant that was working with some veterans back in Springfield, Ohio. And he started talking to them about going down and seeing their memorial. And, he had one veteran say, well, I really can't afford to go. And so Earl, he went out and he rounded up 12 pilots and 6 little planes and went back to this veteran and said, hey, we're taking to see your memorial, and it's not going to cost you anything. And this vet just broke down crying because he was going to get to go see something that was built in the honor of all the men and women that had died during World War II, and something that was honoring him. And that's how it all got started.
And so how does Central Coast what are the people on the Central Coast doing to help the veterans get their honor flight? And maybe explain what happens when they get there for their honor tour.
Okay. Well, let me go over how we got started, our hub. Okay. So after my son went as a guardian, he came over here and started rounding up vets. And then we were only getting 10 guys on a flight. And so we got very frustrated about that. And so, and he got frustrated that he wasn't bringing in donations that he thought he could bring in. And I told him, I said, well, you're trying to make money for Honor Flight Kern County, and you were in San Luis County. And I said, we really need to start our own hub. And so we sat down and talked with a bunch of people and started our own hub here on the Central Coast. And it has, this is our 10th year anniversary coming up that we've been involved. Yeah. And, we've taken over 500 veterans from our area.
Wow. That's wonderful. That is wonderful. And so now you take them, how do they contact you? Are you looking for them? How does this all come together? That's
the funny part about it is, we've been a lot of, for the first several years, we were just word of mouth. You would be walking out on the street in the grocery store, you would see a gentleman with a veteran hat on, and you just go up to him and start talking to him and say, hey, have you ever heard of Honor Flight? And they'd be like, no. And you'd hand them a card and say, well, I want to take you to Washington, D.C. to see these memorials free of charge. All I need you to do is fill out this application and get it into us. And what was funny was we would always carry applications in our car. So I would run back out to the car and grab an application and give it to this veteran, say, here, get this filled out and mail it into us so we can get you on our list. And so finally, as our board started growing and we started figuring out, websites and all this other good stuff, it's made it a little bit easier for us to tell the veterans, hey, just go on our website and fill the application out for us. It
might also seem a little bit more legit. I don't know,
Yeah. And so we have, like I said, we've taken over 500. I think we still have over 200 veterans on our list. And so, when we started, we were flying out of San Louis. We were getting about 23 veterans on a trip, and we were taking 3 to 4 trips a year. And then we were filling out grants because we are a 501c3 organization, and we are all volunteers. None of us get paid. We just do this because of what we have and what our veterans have done for us. And so, we survived by donations from the public. We filled out several grants that we've gotten. Adam Firestone was very instrumental in helping us really get our hub up and going. They had donated over $30,000 to us.
Wow.
And and that really helped us to get the ball rolling. And so, we really thank Firestone Walker for that. And it's just continued to grow. Every year we we look at what's coming in. We just seem to keep bringing in a little bit more money each year. And then we had COVID hit us, and we were shut down for 2 years. And it was very frustrating because when we started to get going again, and you're making calls to the veterans you have on the list, to have the family tell you that veteran had passed away, it was really heartbreaking that we didn't get these guys on their tour of honor. And and this last trip that we went on April 24th, we had a veteran that passed away on us on a Friday, and we were flying out on Monday. We didn't know about it until we were getting ready to fly out. And the family members showed up at the airport with the bag that we give these guys with their T-shirts and jackets, and and told us. And that was really, really hard. So but I didn't say anything to anybody on the trip. I waited till we got back, and then I had a moment of silence for him at the welcome home that we had. And that was hard because it makes me feel that we failed this veteran. But I know that age is there and stuff like that, but I want to get every veteran I can there.
Oh, that's so sad. And so if you have 200 people who are currently on the list waiting to go to their tour, honor tour, how are you choosing which ones go at which time? Is it just as they sign up, or?
Well, the way it works is that it's by basically age and war era. So
Okay.
if we get a World War II guy that sends his application in now, he's on the trip. So like it starts with the World War II guys, and it goes to the Korean, the Vietnam, and but we're taking any veteran. So if you served in between World War II and Korea, you're going to be one of those first guys on the list. And then if you have some type of medical condition where you may not be around next year, you get bumped to the top of the list to go. So, and that's how we put them in order, and then we go through their applications and contact them and tell them, hey, we got you on your flight if you're available to go.
And then when they're there, what are you doing with them, and how are they reacting when they're there? I'm envisioning a lot of mixed emotions, like happy, but memories are so sad and missing people. So what is it like when you take them there?
Well, it's very touching because our first day of touring, we go to the Arlington Cemetery, the Tomb of the Unknown, and to watch that live in person it's amazing. And you'll see these veterans sitting there, and when they play taps, these guys that are in the wheelchairs are trying to get up because they want to respect the system. And then you have kids and adults coming up to these guys and thanking them for their service that they never got when they came home. Because when you talk to the veteran And you say, well, what'd you do when you get home? And they say, well, I got off the transport ship and I hitchhiked, I took a bus, or I took a train, and I went home, I went back to school, or I went back to work. And because all the hoopla was over. So they never got that welcome home that they really deserved. So this is a way for people to come up to them and thank them for their service. And, depending on what memorial you go to with these veterans, their war era. So at the World War II memorial, I had one of my veterans that, he was kind of a grumpy dude when we first went on the trip. And when we got to the World War II memorial, I watched him walk over to the Guam pillar, and he puts his hand on the Guam pillar at the World War II and just starts bawling. And so I walk up to him, I'm like, hey, so I guess we must have lost a lot of buddies there, huh? And he goes, oh, you just don't know. And it wasn't until about 4 or 5 years ago I finally found out what it was. And that's where his brother had died during World War II, was on Guam.
Oh.
And yeah, and he was just so relieved to see that here's a pillar at the World War II memorial. And it's a reminder that his brother will never be forgotten, and after we left that memorial, I saw a huge change in him. I mean, he started talking to the other veterans, he was smiling. We get home from the trip and he calls me up. He says, hey, I'd like to go to the cemetery in Paso during Memorial Day weekend, and I'd like to hand out information about honor flight. And I'm like, absolutely, let's do it. And it was just such a amazing healing thing for him, and then you see the Korean guys go to the Korean memorial, same thing, they break down in tears and everything, but afterwards it's like, wow. It's just so healing.
It must be almost like this burden that's been on them, and this is just the way to release all of that emotion that they're keeping inside and everything like that. That it's just like you're saying, it's healing. It's healing their heart, healing their soul.
Yeah, and a lot of these veterans, they don't talk about their time in the service, and especially if they were in battle. But when you put them all together and they start talking, the family members that go as guardians for these veterans, they're just amazed, because they'll go, well, I've never knew that. Dad, you never talked about that. And they didn't. They just kind of packed it away. Mm-hmm. And this was a point for them to start, talking about what they did. And it's just amazing, the stories that these guys have, Wow. So,
and then what about the guardians? You said that this all really started because your son was a guardian. Are these volunteers can go, and what's the role of the guardian?
Yeah, so as a guardian, you go with a veteran that doesn't have a family member to go with them, or the family member can't afford to go. And so what we call these guardians are community guardians, and they're willing to pay the $1,500 to go on this trip with this veteran. And that covers the whole trip. It covers the flight, the hotel, the food, all the transportation we have back there. And these people are willing to step up to make sure that these veterans get to go on their tour of honor and see all the memorials that were built in their honor, and to honor the veterans that died in those wars. And it's just and you have this bond with that veteran from the time you meet him until the rest of your life. I mean, you just get this bond with that veteran, and you stay in contact. And it's amazing to listen to the community guardians say, oh yeah, I took my vet to lunch today, and it's like, oh great, how's he doing? And oh, he's doing pretty good, and then you get the call about your veteran. You know, he finally passed away, and that's like, but we got him on the trip. You know, we got him to see the memorials. He got his tour of honor that he never got when he came home.
Right. And that I can't imagine that bond if you're there for this veteran and you see that emotional release, you see what it means to that person to be there. That bond is never breaking. I can't imagine that bond ever breaking.
No, it doesn't. And you know, and now we're starting to get into a lot of the Vietnam veterans. And, you know, as we all know, the Vietnam veterans, the way they were treated when they come home were just despicable. It was like amazing. You know, they were being spit on, being called baby killers, you know, and so this has been this last trip we took April 24th, we had 60 something Vietnam veterans, and it was our first charter flight that we took. And to watch those Vietnam veterans at the Vietnam Wall, you know, they were all there and they were honoring the guys that they had served with, but you watch them go along the wall because they wanted to find somebody that they served with, and I was right there, and they would find the name on the panel, and they would just like, you know, there he is, you know, and you just see tears coming out of the guy's eyes, and he's reaching and touching the name, you know, and it's just, yeah, it was I get emotional still because I have this picture in my mind of these veterans and seeing them break down, but it's also healing for them, right. you know, and I had one veteran, he told me his story that he was supposed to go out on patrol one night. He was on the helicopter, and another guy comes running up and says, "Hey, you know, you need to get off. This is my platoon. I'm going." And he gets off the helicopter. Well, that night, that guy that took his place died, and he never knew the name of the guy. So when he was at the Vietnam Wall, he's just standing there, and he's looking at the wall, and he's talking to the wall, and it's like, I don't know who you were, but I've always wondered what your life would have been had you not removed me from that helicopter. And you know, it was, and there again, that was that healing point for him, and he carried that with him his whole life. You know, so
I can imagine, because like we went to the Pearl Harbor, you know, memorial, and it was so solemn to me, and so like to see those names and to see that, and I didn't know anybody, you know, that was on the wall or, you know, whatever, but to go to this place, this resting place for these people, like it gives me goosebumps, and you know, it's just to be there and see these names, how those names affected me. And I wasn't there. I didn't know anybody, you know, so I can't, it must be so emotional to these veterans when they experienced it and they see these names. It's, you know, I don't know. It gives me chills, honestly. Like when you were telling the stories, I was getting chills. So I can't, it's so emotional to me to see it. I can't imagine what it does, how it feels for these people who lived through it.
Oh yeah. I mean, and here's the other thing about these honor flight trips is that there's sometimes you connect veterans that didn't know each other, but they were fighting there with each other. Or so here's one story from this last trip. So I have this Vietnam Air Force guy, and he's at the Iwo Jima Memorial with his son, and he's talking about this conflict that they had going on at this time. And what his job was as an Air Force guy was he would dispatch aircraft to drop bombs for the guys who are out there fighting the battle, if you know. And so I have these other two Vietnam veterans. They kind of hear this guy talking, so they go over and start talking, and it's amazing how they remember things. And they say, well, when were you serving in Vietnam? And he said, well, I was serving between this date and this date. And they go, okay, we were there during those dates. And the two veterans that came over, they were talking about being in this conflict where they were trying to take this town back from, I think it was the North Vietnamese, or and they were pinned down. And so they called in for an airstrike. And this Air Force Vietnam veteran, he was the one that took the call that day to dispatch the planes. And these guys never knew each other. But the two veterans that were pinned down, they're like, you saved our life that day because you dispatched those planes. And I mean, the bond that those three guys got at that moment was just amazing. And I didn't know about it until the son came over and started talking to me. He says, oh, I got to tell you this story. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Wow.
I mean, here's these guys that served in Vietnam, many years ago, but they've never known each other until this moment when they were standing there. And when they start talking about what they are doing, where they were at, I mean, it's clear as day. And to come to find out that they were all there and they were all part of this conflict, and that these two guys got saved by this Air Force guy because he dispatched the planes, it's like, wow.
Wow. And to know that they were so close together, living so close together and didn't know each other.
Yeah, they all three of these guys live in the Napomo, Santa Maria area, and so I guarantee you those three guys are going to be getting together for lunch or breakfast, and they're going to be the best of friends, all three of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And now let's talk about what's going on this coming weekend, Memorial Day weekend. And I know I saw years ago, I saw something that really hit home to me because it said, let's remember what Memorial Day really is. It's not a day off from work,
Right.
But let's talk about what's going on in Paso Robles. Many of us wineries are getting together to help support your efforts in Vino for Vets. So tell us about that. How did that get started? What's going on, and all the juicy stuff.
Yeah, well, like I said, since we're a nonprofit organization, we rely on donations from the public and businesses and stuff like that. So I want to say about 5 years ago, my son decided, we have all these wineries in our area. And he started going out and talking to some wineries to see if they would participate in what we call Vino for Vets. And he rounded up, I think that first year, he rounded up about 12 wineries that said they would participate in the Vino for Vets fundraiser. And, it was one of those things where he didn't want to go in and say, hey, would you, give us this amount of money to participate? It was like, he went to him, he said, what would you like to do? And so he gave them the option of what they wanted to do in the participation. I mean, a lot of them would say, hey, I'll take your donation jars. And others say, well, I'll give you a percentage of our sales for that weekend or that day. Others would say, I'll give you all our tasting fees. And so it started growing. And I think we had 3 years of that before COVID hit. And then when COVID hit, he says, okay, he called me up and goes, Dad, we're not going to do Vino for Vets because, a lot of these wineries, they're being hit pretty hard with COVID. And I'm like, no, I agree with you. I said, I don't want to go out and ask people for money that's not making money. Mm-hmm. And so we put it by the wayside. And then, COVID was like 2 years. And so the second year we said, hey, let's do this. Instead of doing the Vino for Vets, let's go out and support the wineries that have been supporting us with, for the Vino for Vets. And so we went out and we'd tell them, hey, we'd like to buy, some of your wine. We're going to put some wine baskets together. And this is a way for us to support you, give back to you a little bit, what you've given to us. And so I think we put together like 6 wine baskets from these wineries, and we did a raffle, and we sold tickets for that. And then we come to this year, and one of my board members says, "Hey, are we going to do Vino for Vets this year?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's see if we can get it started." So about a month and a half ago, Maggie Cox, one of my board members, she started contacting the wineries again and rounding up wineries that wanted to participate. And this was with, emails that we'd already had on hand. And so, so I think we ended up getting I think she got 24, 25. And then the wineries started contacting other wineries like you, and you jumped on board with us. So now I think we have about 30 wineries on board, going to participate this weekend, during Memorial Day weekend. And you're right, everybody needs to remember that, Memorial Day weekend is a weekend for us to honor the men and women that died for us, so we can enjoy that weekend. And it's not just about barbecues and getting together. It's about remembering the men and women. And so we're very thankful for all the wineries that are going to participate with us this year in it. And so we asked the public out there that, hey, do us a favor. If you'd like to support us, go support the wineries that are supporting us. And get out there. And we got posters out there. You can go to our website and see the poster, and it gives the names of the wineries. Unfortunately, like for you, we had our posters made up before we get you on it. But when I came and visited you the other day to hand out the poster, you told me that you wanted to do this podcast. I'm like, awesome. So to all of you listeners out there, don't forget, stop by Dracaena and support her, because she's supporting us.
And now, a word from our sponsor. Dracaena Wines loves to give back. There are so many fur babies that deserve to find their forever home. We would love to be able to help as many as possible. If you are part of a nonprofit organization or know of a nonprofit organization that would like to hold a fundraiser, please contact us at contact@dracaenawines.com or visit our website, dracaenawines.com, to fill out the form. How does the fundraiser work? It is super simple and costs your group absolutely nothing. Together, we will choose a month that your group will be sponsored. During the month, you promote the fundraiser just like any other event you'd hold. At the end of the month, we will donate 20% of the sales to your organization. The donations will be made in the name of each individual who purchased the wine, so that you know exactly who helped the animals. Our goal is to raise as much funds as we possibly can and to help as many animals as possible. So please help us help as many fur babies as we possibly can.
Yeah. When Maggie told me that our name wasn't going to be on it, I think she was afraid we were going to back out. And I said, it's quite okay. I'm not really doing it to put my name on a poster. I'm doing it because I want to be able to help. I want to be able to do something for the veterans, because as I told you, I am that person who will stop every veteran I see and thank them, because they deserve everything. They deserve so much respect. And so we're doing the tip jar, and we're donating 10% of our sales for the weekend.
Well, thank you so much.
That is what we will do. And it really doesn't matter to me that my name's not on that, that Dracaena Wines is not on the poster. That's completely fine. And the poster is up in our windows, so people can see the other wineries. And I hope that they just go winery to winery, enjoy their day, and thinking of why they're able to be here this weekend is, why they're really able to be celebrating this weekend, what it really means.
Yes, yes. I mean, so yeah, we're preparing for our next trip in October, and we're hoping to take over 100 veterans on that trip.
Okay. And so are you, like you said, you chartered, like are there, I've read there's also people who like the volunteer pilots and things that do things like that. Are pilots involved in volunteering this, or are you just literally paying
No,
their way
we
on a plane?
no, we are just literally having to pay for these charter. We're doing charters now, and so April was our first charter, and we went with 150 people.
Okay.
This charter that we're going to do in October is going to be 183 people, and because the plane cost me the same amount, whether it's 150 or 183 people,
Okay.
and so to do a charter through Allegiant Airlines, it runs us $150,000 to do the charter flight. Now, we split that in half because, usually, well, this is going to be over half this time because we're trying to take 100 veterans because, the Guardians pay their own fee,
Right.
their own way. And so basically, by the time the trip is all over with, it runs us probably about $130,000 just for the veterans. And then, like I said, the Guardians pay their own way. And so we don't even figure that into it.
Okay. And so people can come to Paso Robles this weekend, Memorial Day weekend. They can hunt around for the flyers and thing. And like you said, you can go to the website. Is it? What is the actual website that they can go to?
Yeah, our website is honorflight, CCC for Central Coast California.org. Or you can go, we are on Instagram as well. And so I know they've been posting stuff up there. And we just like to, invite everybody to come up, enjoy the North County. I think we're going to have some great weather and go out and enjoy a glass of wine and like I said, help us support the wineries that are supporting us because it's a huge endeavor to get these veterans back to Washington, D.C.
And if somebody can't make it to Paso Robles, is there a way that they can support just through the website?
Yeah, we have a donation button there on the website and they can go to and donate. Or if they don't feel comfortable doing that through a website, they can find our address on there. And if they like to mail in a check, they can mail a check into our P.O. box in Paso Robles there, which is 1750. And then for every donation we get, if it's online, you should automatically get a receipt back with our 501c3 number on it. Or if you mail in a check to us, we mail you out a letter thanking you for your donation with our 501c3 number.
Okay, perfect. And just to wrap it up, you had said something to me in the tasting room that I have done since we spoke when I told you that when I was in Costco and I was like, no, this is what I'm gonna say. And you were absolutely right with the reaction. So what did you tell me to do when I said that I thank people for their service? What else should I say?
Yeah, when you go up to a veteran, and I want to encourage everybody out there, when you see these guys out there wearing their veteran hats, World War II, Korean, Vietnam, whoever they are, go up to them, thank them for their service, and shake their hand. But after you thank them for their service, say welcome home. Because a lot of these veterans, they never got that welcome home. And when you say welcome home, you'll see a smile on their face, or they'll go, thank you, because they never heard it. They never heard it. Especially those Vietnam guys. They really appreciate that.
Yeah, I did. I had gone to Costco and there was a gentleman in one of those cart thingies that you have at the stores or whatever. And he was sitting there and he actually did not look very happy, which I think nobody is really happy when they're going through Costco. But I just stopped and I did what you said. I said, thank you so much for your service and welcome home. and he sat up in his chair, like he was kind of like this, and he sat up in his chair. He got a very big smile on his face, and he said, "Thank you." And he put his, like, I didn't shake his hand, but he put his hand out to me, and I grabbed his hand, and he put his hand on top of mine. And I was like, wow, that really that means something to them. So it was a whole, as you were talking about change of attitude, just that simple act of thanking him and welcoming him home put a smile on his face. And it is, well, warms my heart that it warms their heart, that, because they deserve it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the sad thing is it took 9/11 to wake this country up, to show how important our military is to this country. And they're not out there to fight these wars because they want to. They're out there fighting these battles because they're doing their job. They're following their orders. They're out there to keep us safe, to protect us, to give us the freedoms that we have. And, and you just got to be able to appreciate that and understand that. And I even talk to these veterans, and they'll tell me, thank you for this trip. And I go, don't thank me. I said, I'm doing this because you never knew me, but you were willing to give your life up for me so I could be here. And so I always feel that I'm only doing a very small thing compared to what these men and women are willing to do for us. They're willing to give the ultimate sacrifice. They're willing to die for us. And that's what everybody out there needs to understand, that our veterans and our military guys, they're there to protect us and to make sure that we can enjoy our life.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And I want to thank you for being so instrumental in something that is so important to our veterans. I appreciate that you do this for them, and everybody who is involved in it. And so I also want to give a shout out to Caitlin over at Pianetta, because she's the one who sent me the email to make me aware of this. And so everybody, come on out to Paso this weekend, enjoy the beautiful weather, enjoy some fantastic wine, and drink for a cause that I don't think there's any cause better for than this. So thank you so much. And I'm assuming you'll be around in Paso this weekend. So maybe I will see you again, and have a great week.
All righty. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, we will be out touring the wineries that are participating, but I have to watch myself, because if I go to every winery and I have a tasting, I may not make them all.
And that's a great thing that there's so many wineries doing it. So that is a great thing. But enjoy, and thank you for being on the podcast, and thank you for doing what you're doing for our veterans.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Have a great day.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So you and I can feel
This has been another episode of Exploring the Wine Glass. Thanks for listening. If you have suggestions on what topics you would like me to discuss, please reach out on social media. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as Exploring the Wine Glass. I am also on LinkedIn as Lori Hoyt-Budd. Of course, you can always email me at exploringthewineglass@gmail.com and sign up for my newsletter at exploringthewineglass.com. If you enjoyed what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe to help others find me more easily. And most importantly, tell your wine-loving friends, because if you like the podcast, they will too. Podcast music is Wine by Kevitz. Until next week, slancha.
I'm on Tibet for my 10,000 tell you. There is always time.